What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Another toothpick review today, and I have the HGLRC Parrot 120 right here. It runs on 3 to 4S. This is an insane little ripper, but one of the things about this one is, and check this out up close, I just got to show you this design. This is super cool. 3mm unibody with reinforcements front and back. 1106 motors on this beast. We're going to talk about the power system first that they chose to put on here. It came with some tri-props in the box that I first started out having way too much vibes in, so I had to I actually went down to a 3S battery, and then I went up to a 4S, and whatever battery I used had a lot of vibes in it, so a ton of vibrations right out of the bat, and it needed to be tuned. So I took the time, took my laptop out, tuned it for you guys, and I'm going to share that link down below for the CLI dumped on the Parrot 120. It came totally not tuned at all, so it was one of those days. And but I was able to, I almost got it on the first time around with the PIDs. I changed the PIDs completely around on all the P, I, and the D settings. And it did some other tweaks in there as well to smooth everything out. So on the second try, I was able to get it nice and smooth. So I also propped down to the bi-blade props, and the bi-blade props seem to be like the prop of choice for this quad. I think that 1106 is getting really beastie, and if you're going to use a 4S battery on here, I suggest using a 650 or even an 850, which seems like a lot of weight for this quad. The power system, we're still talking about that. It just draws a lot of amps with these motors. So you better have a battery with enough milliamps to be able to handle the power system that's on this quad. So with the 650 and a 550 battery, I was getting like 2.5 minutes flight time, but I'm also ripping on the throttle pretty hard. I don't just kind of fly it gingerly around the baseball field like a grandma or whatever. I'm trying to see what kind of performance we can get out of this quad, and that's the point of the review. I want to see how much punishment these quads can take. So ripping at 80% to 100% throttle a lot of the time. Power loops, it handles power loops beautifully. I had to back off the throttle just a little bit to regain control at some time with it, because it really does have a lot of power. So propping down to the bi-blade props and running a 650 to 850 is probably the sweet spot on this quad. Also, guys that are looking for more speed, the bi-blade props are way faster than the tri-blade. The tri-blade's just, the problem there was it was more vibrations and it eats up the battery. Like you get like a minute less flight time with the tri-blade props. It's crazy. So these are a little more efficient and faster, and you still have enough power to recover from big freestyle maneuvers that you might be trying to do with this. So it handles beautifully with these props. So let's go ahead now and let's do a little bit of flying with it. I'll talk about the flight characteristics on the Parrot 120, and then we'll come back and I'll give you my final thoughts and opinions and my rating as always for this one, the new one from HGLRC. The Parrot 120 is pretty cool. Check it out. Alright, so let's go ahead and get started with flight test. Starting out on that 3S battery. My first battery, it did have some vibes, so I had to run into Betaflight and just do some tuning for you guys. Now this tune's going to work on 3 and 4S on this quad. My motors came down slightly hot when I was running 4S. Not supposed to be running 4S, but I did it anyway, and it flew like a total beast on 4S with the 6,000 kV motors. That's why you're going to get a tremendous sag on your battery if you're running these motors. They are very high RPMs, so you want to stick to 3S on this one. But still, even at 3S, it is great on the punch out, and there's still some vibes in there, so I'm still going to have to tune this a little more for you. For the beginners, you can start out on 2S on this quad, and you'll still have plenty of punch. You'll get that 3 to 4 minute flight time on a 550 to 650 battery, Now I'm trying it on the 4S battery, and now the speed is really intensified with those 6,000 kV motors. Really ripping now. The 3800 kV version, hopefully that one comes out soon, because that one is going to get you 3.5 to 4 minutes on a 650. So most of you guys are not ripping full throttle and doing power loops every 5 seconds. But it handles a knife edge power loop. It handles just about anything that I throw at it. The guys that came out with me this afternoon, Diego and Sean, were pretty impressed with it. Sean was very excited by it, seeing it out there just handling all of those freestyle power loops and anything else I could throw at it with ease. Even trying some experimental type stuff. You can get away with a lot with these micro brushless, so if you've never flown before, you gotta try it. A little bit of float there coming around the tree, getting back on the throttle through these trees, ripping through. Very used to that run right there, so it handled it really well, and this is the kind of quad that I love flying, especially with this kind of power. The 1106, as I've said before, is kind of the top end of the micro brushless kingdom, so much bigger than that. We're going to a 3-inch prop, and we've got 2.5s on here. 2.5 inch 65mm prop. HQ props worked out the best for me. That's where I had less vibration and kind of more efficiency with the 6,000 kV motors. Doing quite nice here. Just ripping along. Really enjoying this quad a lot. Power loops all day. Look at that, back around. No sag at all on the bottom loop. Really nice. Now I see why they call these the Pro Series. Now I'm going to go across this street right here. I'm going to do that big power loop. I usually only do this with 3-inch type quads or bigger. Came back a little bit late in that loop, but I made it back around. Really tight loop right there. Almost hit the tree. Taking some chances for you guys. I like to come in close to the bottom of that tree right there. So again, doing some flips down close to the ground. Got something on my camera now. But this camera, again, it does have a little bit of a red hue to it. That might bother some people, but it probably even looks redder in this situation where we have a lot of dead grass. I prefer the Runcam Nano version 2. But this works out. These cameras are on sale right now. Again, I'm going to try to put the link down below for you guys. If you break this one or you need it backup, it's a good time to grab one. I think they're like $10 a piece right now. Hopefully they're still that same price. Wow, right there, kiss the ground. So I gotta say, 5 stars for the performance of this quad. I love it on 3S and 4S. Don't fly yours on 4S. I was just kind of pushing it there, so be careful with yours. So let's go back into the studio. I'm digging this quad a lot, and so does Sean. So we're gonna go ahead now and do a real quick spec check, and then I'll give you my final thoughts and opinions on the Parrot 120 Pro. Here we go. Let's go ahead and do the spec check. 2 to 3S version is the 6,000 kV version, which I have. Don't run it on 4S. That one's coming soon. 128mm wheelbase with a 2.5mm carbon unibody frame, and HGLRC flame motors that are 1106 6,000 kV on here. 65mm was my prop of choice, but the Cadex Turbo EOS 2s on here with plenty of protection with that TPU top plate. I like that a lot. Very nice protection. Front, top, bottom, and sides. And the stack on here is the HGLRC FD411 flight controller with Betaflight 4.0.4 on the latest firmware. We have 13 amp ESCs, which are rated for 4S, HGLRC FD VTX with 400 milliwatt and smart audio on board, and my receiver is tucked up in here. That's the XM Plus receiver with my capacitor back here, and running out the backs we have the IPEX dipole antenna and our strut supports for our antennas. Coming from our receiver, we have our HGLRC strap as well that holds up to an 850 battery. So pretty cool looking little quad. Let's get it on the scale and weigh it. 74.7 grams there. Now with the 4S 450, let's see, 133.6 grams. With a 3S 550, it's going to get you up to 130.6.2.1 grams. And the Beastie 4S850, which is the heaviest battery you possibly fly, under 250 grams. All right, guys, welcome back from the flight test. So let's talk about this quad and let's sum it up. Pros and cons. The Parrot 120 started out as one of those days where I had to just do a lot of work, and I say a lot of work, but it's just numbers, just putting in the right numbers to make this guy chill out. If you are familiar with PID tuning the micro brushless are a little bit harder than tuning a 5-inch to me. I can tune a 5-inch pretty quick, and sometimes I can even do it on the first go round of numbers. This one I almost had on the first go round of numbers. It took me 2 rounds with this one to get it flying nice and smooth for you. So past that pitfall, I think that the performance is easily rated at a 5 out of 5. This thing is a total ball ripper. This thing has so much punch out and it recovers really well, but you're going to have to use a little bit bigger battery to accommodate for punching the throttle. Those full throttle punch outs, it'll handle it. It'll do it. It flies way better and faster on the HQ 3x2 props that I have on here. I like the way these fly. I fly them on a lot of different style toothpicks. And even though this one is heavier than some of the smaller ones, the lighter ones in the 50-gram range, these props perform really well, and they're much smoother than the tri-props that came in the box. So this is probably the configuration that I would go with, that I'm going to recommend for you guys. And also, I gotta say that the construction of the quad itself is very, very solid. I really like this 16x16 stack that they have in here. Easy access. It's 3 bolts. You have 2 little tiny nuts, M2 nuts in the front here, and then you have 2 M2 bolts in the very back, and you can take this whole stack off. The one thing that I'm going to take points off for in this review, the con for me, is the Cadex Turtle EOS 2 camera that's on here. Or the Cadex Turbo EOS 2 that's on here. I'm not a huge fan of that. In fact, so many people really aren't a fan of this camera that I'm going to put a link down below for you guys. These cameras are on sale right now for like 10 bucks a piece. So that tells you something about this camera. I think these cameras are going to disappear because they have sort of that red hue over the whole thing, and I can't deny that because we do honest reviews here on the channel. I'm not really sure why HGLRC decided to use that camera, because that's my least favorite camera anywhere right now. And I think they would have been a much better choice to choose the Runcam Nano V2 to put on here. Would have been way better looking camera. So aside from that, the rest of the build quality is nice. The bottom of the frame has very little flex. The way they built this unibody plate down here, it's really rigid. I don't see you guys breaking this one unless you goof up and hit the concrete. Really hard full speed. The motors, the Flame series, if you know anything about the Flames, they are absolute ripping motors. All of them, even all the way up to the 2207 and 2308 motors that they make. Really, really beastie series motors, and they have really nice magnets in them. So everything on here aside from that camera, I like. The TPU top plate as well. So I'm gonna say, like, I guess 4.5 stars for the construction and the durability. Very durable quad. I did smack it down a couple times. Pretty hard, but in the grass. Just stay away from the concrete. Now, the next thing is the performance. The performance is 5 out of 5 easily. This is the kind of like Toothpick Pro that I enjoy flying, because I love to fly at high throttle and just go for it, make it or break it type gaps. Do huge power loops with this quad all day long, and it recovers really, really well when I'm coming back around from those power loops. It'll even do knife edge power loops up over trees like the bigger quads. So this one flies more like a 5-inch than some of the other ones out there with extreme speed. Just make sure you have a nice big field to fly this one in. Football field size or bigger. Now also, my overall rating for this one is, I'm going to have to say, is about a 4.3 out of 5 stars for the Parrot 120. Not a super high scoring quad, but at the same time not low either. So I think it depends on the type of flyer you are. If you're somebody who really likes to get on the throttle, you can have a lot of fun with this quad. And the 650 milliamp to 850 milliamp battery range. But most of all, I had fun flying this quad, and I think that it is for that guy or girl who wants to just really have a lot of power for a pretty good price. So I'm going to try to put the link down below for those guys, and you guys can check this one out. I'll try to get you guys a coupon as well for it if you're interested to fly this one, because we have another beast on the market, another Toothpick Pro series, and I hope to see more of these quads coming out, and eventually it'll be cool because we'll have, maybe one day we'll have 16 by 16 4K on a Toothpick. Maybe one day. It's going to be super hard, but thanks again for watching my reviews, guys. I'm Justin Davis. I'll see you on the next one.